In this video, I want to talk about different attachment styles and how these different attachment styles affect your relationships, either positively or negatively. The way that I want to connect that to self-love, self-confidence, and self-value is also important because certain attachment styles are not really beneficial for developing or maintaining those qualities. And on my channel, I talk a lot about those. So I feel like now is the perfect time to actually start talking about it. I went through this process of actually changing my attachment style from being anxiously attached to being securely attached years ago. But I feel like a lot of women, a lot of people in general, but mostly women, have certain attachment styles that are not really very beneficial for having successful relationships. So let's break it down. So there are several attachment styles, and one of them is very, very workable in a sense that it works very well in their relationships. And people who have this attachment style are very stable people and they are very successful in relationships. So this is secure attachment style, and it's characterized by just being very confident and having excellent communication skills, being able to communicate your needs to your partner, also not being easily overwhelmed in your relationships, and overall being a very stable person with good foundation. There are other types of attachment styles, and one of them is anxious attachment style, which is characterized by constant fear of abandonment, constant fear that your partner will stop loving you. Other people may characterize you as needy or clingy or needing a lot of attention. And so this attachment style in relationships is not very functional, and it tends to damage relationships a lot. Third type of attachment style is avoidant attachment style, and mostly men, well, some women as well, but a lot of men have this attachment style when it's characterized by hot and cold, meaning that a person comes close when there is some intimacy, and then they have to get some distance because they're not comfortable with that level of intimacy. So I'm going to break it down more, each of these types. And today specifically, I want to talk about the anxious attachment style because I feel like a lot of women have this attachment style. And specifically, if we talk about statistically speaking, about 50% of population has secure attachment style. And it's been discovered that people with secure attachment are usually in a relationship with each other. Well, sometimes they're in relationships with other types of attachments, but a lot of times they get in those relationships and they stay in those relationships because of their attachment style. Other 25% is anxious attachment style. And then another 25% is avoidant attachment style. And then there is also a fourth attachment style, which is a combination of anxious and avoidant attachment styles. Now, because the people with secure attachment are usually in a relationships, we don't see them a lot on out dating. Mostly people who have anxious attachment style and avoidant attachment style are in the dating pool. So it is very important to know, first of all, what your attachment style is, and also learn how to recognize attachment style in other people. Specifically for this channel is mainly for women. So how to recognize these different attachment styles in men. Specifically, there are a lot of avoidant men and people in general in the dating pool because they avoid relationships, because they go through relationships pretty fast. So it would be crucial for you to know actually how to distinguish those people early on. And specifically, people with anxious attachment style. So let's go back to how it actually is formed and how it came to be. And well, newsflash, like everything else in life, these things come from our childhood. So what happens in the childhood for people who are forming this attachment style is the parents are not there. So let's say it's a single parent family, so either mom or dad are not there, or one of the parents or both of the parents are unavailable to a child, either physically, so like they're busy, or they are emotionally unavailable. There's also a pattern of parents giving the child attention, so periods of cuddling, and then withdrawing that energy, so not being available. So the child with this attachment style grows to really not knowing what to expect from the parent, not knowing when they're actually going to receive that connection, that love, and always striving to get it, and trying to get it any means necessary, really, as a child, because we accommodate, right? So accommodation and pleasing and trying to be a good boy or a good girl in order to receive that praise, receive that energy, receive that attention. Recognizing yourself as having this attachment style is definitely a lot of clingy tendencies, highly sensitive to any type of criticism, whether it's real criticism or perceived criticism, needing approval a lot, needing approval and validation from other people, a lot of jealousy tendencies, feeling unworthy of love, really scared of being abandoned, really scared that the partner is going to stop loving you, difficulty trusting others. So these are the things that are really prevalent in people with this attachment type. And you can imagine that in a relationship, these are very difficult to deal with. How does it actually manifest in a relationship? So people with anxious attachment style usually feel unworthy of love and need constant reassurance from their partners. So it's almost like there is lack of ability for the person to generate it themselves, to acknowledge themselves, to compliment themselves, to feel good about themselves. So they're literally needing it from another person or people. Otherwise, they feel very, very bad, very unworthy, very, very low self-esteem. So they literally need their partner or their friends or whoever constantly feed them with praise, with acknowledgement, with compliments. And the problem is that it's almost like a bottomless pit where no matter what the other person is saying, what the other person is doing, it's never enough, because the anxious attachment style, there's no sense of self, and whatever is being said, it doesn't really register. Another thing that happens in the relationships is that the person with the anxious attachment style will blame themselves for whatever is going wrong in a relationship. So they will blame themselves, and they will also exhibit a lot of jealousy. They will try to find things in their partner that reminds them of their past partners who might have not treated them well, left them, cheated on them, took advantage of them, whatever it is. But in order to gain control of the situation, the person with an anxious attachment style will try to find evidence of that in their current partner, someone that they're dating, or someone that they're engaged to, someone that they're even married to. They will try to find those proof. It's almost like being a private investigator when a person is trying to find proof that this new partner is going to be like the old partner, pretty much, and do the same thing, either cheat on them or hurt them in some way. So this is a defense mechanism, and the problem is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense that when you expect somebody to do something bad, your level of expectation is very, very low for that person. So if you constantly bringing up those issues that you had with a completely different partner who might have mistreated you in the past, but you bringing it in your current relationship, your current partner, who might be a great person, they have no ill intention towards you. In fact, they want to love you and take care of you and cherish you, but you are bringing it into the relationship, therefore weakening that relationship to the point where it just ceases to be at some point. I'm going to go through some of the traits of the anxious attachment style, and so you can easier recognize yourself if you have that. So one of the things is codependency. on other people. What I mean by that is you would be hyper focused on what your partner is thinking, his opinions, his thoughts, his moods, and it would affect you tremendously. So if your partner is feeling a certain way or is has certain opinions, you would most likely have the same opinions because you're seeking his validation, because you're seeking for him to like you, and you think that if you like all the same things, if you have all the same opinions, if you have all the same moods, if your head hurts at the same time as his, then he's going to like you more. So it's the logic of like, you like me because I'm exactly like you. Of control that comes from the person with secure attachment, insecure attachment style, the anxious attachment style towards their partner, always wanting to know what they're doing, who they're doing it with, when they're going to be back, and so on and so forth. Another thing is when the person is alone, that's usually a crisis. The people with insecure attachment styles, they like to be really close and with their partner. Anxious attachment style, they really need their partner next to them to constantly get this validation, to constantly get that energy. If something unexpected happens, so for example, if you were supposed to go on a date and the person is canceling because they have to work and they're doing it last minute, for the person with the anxious attachment style, it's going to be a crisis because, again, they will internalize it, that it means something about them, that their partner doesn't like them, that the partner is not attracted to them, and so on and so forth. It's constant fear of rejection, constant fear that the other person is going to stop loving them and will leave them. And as I spoke before, as I mentioned before, there's also a lot of desire to find evidence of that. So there's a lot of, there could be trying to like look in another person's phone or their computer, or like go through their stuff, trying to look for that evidence. So that's another thing. And of course, for the partner, that is unacceptable behavior because their privacy is violated when that happens. So it is a very, very strong boundary for a lot of people. But people with anxious attachment style, they almost can't control themselves. Like it's an addiction that they cannot not do it. Literally, they need to go and find that evidence. It's almost uncontrollable, and that's why I'm talking about it. It is so important to work through that and actually get yourself to the secure attachment style, because otherwise the relationships, they cannot handle this type of energy a lot of times. So external confidence is sometimes people who have this attachment style have a lot of external confidence, and when you talk to them, like let's say you talk to them randomly and you don't know them, you actually not going to even know, because they have some external confidence, external bravado, and when they talk about themselves, they actually sound very confident, and they sound what they say is different from what they feel inside. So because inside, people who have this attachment style think that other people are above them and they are under those people, and they have the secret resentment about it as well. So we talked about the need of constant validation. Looking at my notes here. So when I say constant need of validation, you ask questions as well. You ask questions as, why were you attracted to me? Why did you choose me? Why do you love me? What do you like about me? So those type of questions, you will see people with that attachment style ask that a lot. Why? Because they crave that reinforcement. They want to hear it multiple times a day. Like if they're being told 5 minutes ago, they could want to hear it. Maybe they want to hear it in an hour. So it's that type of frequency. So jealousy about everything. So jealousy not just about potential romantic partners, but also jealousy about any work, friends, God forbid, same gender, same sex friends. That is a huge thing. People pleasing. So why people pleasing? Going back to the childhood, that was the only way to survive. Getting other people what they want was the only way to receive that energy and that love back. So this is the same thing that people with anxious attachment style are doing. They're trying to receive that love by over giving to others, by always saying yes. They never say no. Even if they are exhausted, they're tired, they are like have no ability to do whatever the other person is asking, but they can't say no because they feel like it would mean that the other person would stop loving them and would not give them that validation, and their life depends on that validation. So this extreme people pleasing and this extreme need for validation actually is very unattractive, and it pushes people away. Other people are literally repulsed by it. So the best way to think about it is people with anxious attachment are able to push people away. So they're pushing people away, even if people love them, even if people are in a relationship with them. But this type of insecure attachment tends to push people away. Secure attachment tends to pull people in because it's just so magnetic. I have a whole course on this, my course Dominion, where literally the course is about how to be the it girl, how to be that girl, how to be the girl with this type of magnetism, how to have this self-confidence, how to have this self-love, self-value. And I do talk a lot about, I actually just added a lot of content on this particular topic about attachment styles, because I feel like this is huge. This is huge. And this, you cannot really have self-love, self-confidence, self-value. Guess what? All these words have one word in common: self, right? So if you don't have a clear vision of yourself, if you don't have a clear understanding of your own value, you focus mainly on other people and not on yourself, it is impossible for you to actually have self-love, self-confidence, and self-value. What do I recommend for people who do have this attachment style, and how to actually transform it into a secure attachment style, which is kind of what we're striving to be and to get? Now, people with secure attachment had very healthy upbringing, or they worked on themselves a lot and they actually transformed whatever their previous style of attachment was, they transformed it into a secure attachment. So what are those characteristics? Like, how are they in their relationships? They are okay by themselves. So they are very much okay. They don't need to be attached at the hip with someone else. They are okay. They like their own space. They like to be by themselves, and they like to be with someone else, but they don't have to be with someone else. They are very clear with their communication. So effective communication is key, because people with secure attachment, they're not afraid to say what they want, what they need, and they say it, or they are okay saying no. Notice that people with anxious attachment, they cannot really say no. They always say yes because they're so desperate to people please. People with secure attachment are okay to compromise or say no. Like, for example, if they're too tired and they can't go out, they're gonna say, I am so tired, I'm sorry, I cannot go out today. Can we do it another time? The person with anxious attachment will drag themselves out even if they're exhausted, and they will still go on that date, and they will not be their full self, right? Because they're so exhausted, and then they will end up having resentment towards the person that they went on the date with, just because they cannot say no. So effective communication is key. What you need, what you require, and saying it in a manner that's not accusatory. Like, why didn't you do this for me? Why didn't you bring me flowers? Why don't you ever bring me flowers? Instead, oh, I really love when I get flowers. I would love to get flowers from you, right? And then see how the other person reacts. So give people a chance to actually do that. If you're in a dating stage at this point, and you tell someone what you actually would like to have, effective communication, and they don't do that, and you see that they consistently don't do that, they don't respond to your effective communication, then that's a sign, right? That's a sign that maybe you should not be seeing them anymore. You should not be going on dates with them anymore. But the thing is, with anxious attachment, the people attach so fast, and they attach emotionally even to men that they never even met. For example, if women with anxious attachment style, if they're still in the messaging phase with a man, and they talked, or even if they had one date, but because they attach so fast and they rely so much on the validation from that person, if that person ghosts them, and hello, that person is most likely avoidant type, right? Because that's most of the, a lot of men on the dating scene, in the dating scene, have avoidant attachment style. So if they ghost you, if they suddenly disappear, the person with anxious attachment style will take it so personally. It would be devastating. They would feel like this is a reflection on their worth, that they're not attractive enough, that they're ugly, that they messed up on the date somehow, that they were too pushy, that, if they set a boundary on a date, that they're not going to do something, let's say with a man, and they're going to blame themselves for doing that because now he ghosted them, and they would blame themselves and say, well, maybe I should have done it. So when the person with the secure attachment style is going to be like, well, it's their loss, maybe something happened, but they're not going to internalize it and say that they did something, because they know that they didn't. And most likely it's in that person who ghosted them. That's their thing, that's in their head, and the person with secure attachment has nothing to do with any of that, and they would know that. My course Dominion is now on relaunch, so information is below. There's a big discount. Make sure, if you want to get it, now is the time. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Love you all.